So, antibiotic abuse. When you get a prescription from your doctor, do you really need it? Usually when you take medication, you take it as you're told. What if I told you that you were doing more harm than healing with your antibiotic? You're probably wondering how it could be causing harm. It's an antibiotic. I was told to take it. What's wrong? Well, as a child, I would get back-to-back ear infections, and I was always prescribed amoxicillin, which is a penicillin-based antibiotic. Well, a few years ago, when I started going to the doctor on my own, I would still be prescribed amoxicillin. And I'd have to go back to the doctor a few days later because it wasn't working. I would be prescribed an even stronger antibiotic, augmentin. Today, if I go to the doctor, I need to be prescribed an even stronger antibiotic. I didn't understand why. Never understood it. I mean, Tylenol still works, so why doesn't this? So I asked my doctor. When I wasn't satisfied with the answer, I did my own research. My research brought me to the conclusion that I'm going to share with you today. Overprescribing and incorrectly using antibiotics can cause a resistance that has become a serious problem, but you can help change that. First, let's talk about how antibiotics are overprescribed and incorrectly used. When you go to the doctor for a cough and a runny nose, most of the time you'll walk out with a viral diagnosis and an antibiotic prescription. The antibiotic will do absolutely nothing for you. Antibiotics are used for treating infections caused by bacteria, and a virus is not a bacterial infection. According to a study in 2016 done by the CDC, 270.2 million prescriptions were written in the United States. Out of those, roughly 47 million, or 30%, were unnecessary, meaning they had no use at all. Here, you can see our state, the states that prescribe the most. Right here, our state is one of the most prescribed states. And it's showing that out of 1,000 per 1,000 in the population, 874 to 1,185 are being prescribed. Meaning that there's people that are being prescribed more, way more than what are needed. So now you may be thinking, 30% are unnecessary. That's not really a big deal, right? Well, along with just being completely unnecessary, another risk for antibiotic resistance is prolonged use. For example, FDA guidelines recommend 5 to 7 antibiotic or day treatment for most sinus infections. But in a more recent 2018 study published by the Journal of American Medical Association, nearly 70% of antibiotic courses were prescribed for sinus infections were longer than recommended. Among those 70%, the courses prescribed were for 10 days or longer. When you take antibiotics for a longer term than recommended, or when they are not needed at all, the bacteria can change, adapting to the antibiotic, and then that's how they become resistant. So, the next time that you need an antibiotic for an actual infection, it may not work. Now, let's talk about the current efforts in reducing antibiotic resistance. In 2014, the U.S. government started a program named CARB, which stands for Combating Antibiotic-Resistant Bacteria. The program is coordinated actions that prioritize infection prevention and control the slow of spread of resistant infections and reduce the need for antibiotic use. The program has implemented different approaches to diagnostic tests and treatment strategies. It includes 7 core elements: hospital commitment, accountability, pharmacy expertise, action, tracking, reporting, education, and the CDC stewardship itself. The first action plan was implemented in 2015 with an antibiotic stewardship for all hospitals, but only 39% of them in the U.S. actually participated. By 2017, 70% of all hospitals were implementing the program, with a goal that by 2020, 100% will meet all 7 core elements. A new 2020 action plan includes whole genome researching and sequencing in not only humans, but animals, plants, and the environment. In doing so, the goal is to create a better antibiotic in understanding the bacterial and fungal strain adaptations to antibiotics. But even with new action plans and programs introduced, antibiotics still remains a persistent problem. In July 2020 report from the CDC, Each year in the U.S., at least 2.8 million people get an antibiotic-resistant infection, and more than 35,000 people die from them a year. Lastly, let's talk about how you can be a part of the change to stop the antibiotic resistance. When you go to your doctor's appointment for your cough or runny nose, do not ask for an antibiotic if your doctor does not recommend one. Instead, ask for medicines to treat the symptoms. Taking antibiotic when not necessary, not only are you making it worse for yourself in the future, but you're going to have some unwanted side effects like diarrhea, nausea, or rashes. Instead, wait a few days to see if your symptoms get any better. If they do, it was more likely a viral illness. If your doctor does prescribe an antibiotic, do not be afraid to ask them questions. Asking, what kind of bacteria are you trying to kill? Is there a home remedy I can try before taking an antibiotic? And if you are prescribed, how long do I need it for and why? Do not take antibiotics for longer than prescribed, and make sure that you complete the series. Here, you can see some different illnesses that actually do need an antibiotic and some that don't. Colds and runny noses, don't need it. Bronchitis, you don't need it. Flu, sore throats, fluid in the middle ear, these are all viral illnesses. You do not need an antibiotic. Taking an antibiotic will just worsen the cause. But if you have whooping cough, strep throat, or a UTI, definitely get an antibiotic. But make sure you speak to your doctor about it. In conclusion, do not be afraid to ask your doctor any questions regarding the antibiotic itself, or if there is a way to treat the illness at home. Always do your own research and see if it's a bacterial or a viral illness, and listen to your doctor when he says it's viral. Even with government intervention, you still need to advocate for yourself. With so many unnecessary antibiotics prescribed each year, you do not need to be a part of the statistic of people who are affected by antibiotic resistance. Imagine becoming ill with an infection that doctors cannot treat due to prior antibiotic abuse.
Okay.